get started. But it's the United States of America and to the corporation. We move to our 30 seconds for silent voting. Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda with the following amendments. Additional certified and classified personnel actions for considerations, item F3.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the considerations of item F3. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Move on to delegations, question and answer, public comments. Do we have any public comments this evening?
No.
Do we have any update from Brett Marshall is not tonight, correct? Okay. All right, we'll move on to correspondence.
Yes, I do have a correspondence to read. Hello, Board of Education. My name is Elise Stelzer. I am a parent of 2 students at Plymell Elementary. I am also a former USD-457 employee and someone who worked in our country schools, Plymell and Gina Barker, as a school social worker. I also worked in A. Hubert Elementary for 6 years, and so I have an understanding of a few of our elementary schools in our district, especially those with the K-6 model, which I loved working in. I still love seeing these amazing students in the community. Currently, I own a private practice in Garden City, Kansas. Let me tell you, the country schools have a neat culture and climate. I know some of you have also had country school kids and may understand this. For instance, our current art teacher was the 1st grade teacher when my husband, age 39, attended Plymell Elementary years ago. Before teaching art, she taught my daughter 1st grade. Talk about retention of staff. We often have retired teachers come back as substitute teachers, Mrs. Kim Brewer being one of them. Also recently, we celebrated Kansas Day at Plymell, which was a tradition that started years ago and is coming back to life. I have photos of my spouse who participated in the learning activities as well. We have a strong agricultural presence and neat learning experiences due to this. We have supportive parents, which also help make our school great. Our school has been doing so well with the Student Lighthouse team, a leadership team which is planning a race at the zoo April 24th to raise money for cancer patients. These students presented the race concept for approval to the city commissioners. You can check it out on the Plymell Elementary School Facebook page. My 2-year-old recently applied to be a part of this leadership team. She is excited for such a neat opportunity and interviews at the school for this tomorrow in between taking her 4th grade state assessments. As you know, there is a lot of research to support successful learning in smaller school environments, and these are just a few examples of the great learning opportunities taking place. On March 22nd, I was informed that a boundary committee consisting of only 3 Plymell representatives was given 2 concepts, both suggesting closing Plymell Elementary School. Although I know these concepts can be refined, having to find out about these concepts through one Facebook post was disheartening. It seems as though most parents understood boundary meetings as a time to reconfigure K-5, not possibly close multiple schools in our district. Even the Plymell representatives reported they were surprised at the last boundary meeting seeing both proposals listed Plymell closing and moving the student body elsewhere. I do attempt to be aware of important things in our community, and so I have tried to educate myself on this as much as I can with the information shared on Facebook USD-457 page. But many parents have not even heard of this information yet or do not understand what it could mean to them. I have also heard rumblings that our school has been up for maintenance to our roof, among other things, for some time, and that this continues to be pushed back. Naturally, as a parent, this is frustrating as it feels like we have ignored this so long that now we can say close the old buildings and move to the newer ones. The first question I have is, at what point will we send out the public forum information to all parents in the district for those who may not utilize or even have access to the social media platform Facebook? The public cannot attend if they have not been given information on when and where to show up. Remind texts from the district seem to be a good outlet to reach all. However, I have not received one. I do plan to attend the public forum April 17th and 18th at 5:30. I only have the privilege of knowing about this due to checking in with people on the boundary committee. The second question I have is, do parents need to attend both or just one night? I would assume the meetings are going to be the same, but wanted to seek clarification so I can plan accordingly as these dates are just around the corner. Thank you for listening and making decisions that protect positive school culture and successful learning environments. Sincerely, Elise Selzer. And that's it.
Thank you, Jennifer. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to new business. G1, council item. This is the first read. Dr. Rob.
The Curriculum Council met on March the 20th, and the committee voted and unanimously approved 5 courses to count for half a credit for English elective courses. These include science fiction, survey of modern literature, comedic literature, women with a pen, survey of youth literature. The approved courses are courses already offered to students as a general elective choice. The courses would still be offered to students as a general elective. The approved courses by the Curriculum Council would give students the opportunity to earn half a credit towards their 3.5 English graduation requirements. Students would be required to successfully earn English 2 credits as a prerequisite. There are no requests for additional teaching staff since these courses are currently being offered and taught at the high school. The courses would start in the 2024 fall semester if approved by the Board of Education. All of the applications were also attached to this request, and I would like to know if you have any questions. We recommend that the Board of Education approve the courses as presented.
Nobody has any questions?
I do have one question. So some of these courses are already in the curriculum. We're just moving them, right?
They are currently being taught, they're in the curriculum, and they are being added for an option for students to add an English elective. So they would still be offered as general electives, but then they would also have the opportunity next year to take those as English electives after English 2.
Thank you.
I have a question or a follow-up question. Did the standards change in English, whether needing an extra half of credit or more credit?
So the graduation requirements are still the same. So right now, the board in November approved the graduation requirements for the 2028 graduates, which would be the incoming 9th graders, current 8th graders. But we still currently have the graduation requirements that went from 2023 to 2027. And they're still the same. They still need 3.5 credits of English for graduation.
This just gives them more options to fill those.
Correct.
And all these classes are currently being taught.
They're currently being taught, so there's no request for
Just
additional
moving.
teaching staff.
You know, like.
There's 2 options, right?
Any other questions for Dr. Rock?
President, I make a recommendation that we approve the English electives additions as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the English elective additions as presented. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to G2. Board of Education is asked to consider some design fees for an HVAC and the transportation.
So this would be part of the Long Ridge Facility Plan. So that was presented to you all earlier this year. This would be the step one would be the design fee for the HVAC system to replace the HVAC at transportation. You have questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are we replacing it or going back with a similar type system, or are we doing a full reconfigure type?
My understanding is I think it's all new, right, Jess?
I believe it's 2 new units to replace one existing.
Yeah.
Just curious about the design fee, if we were going back the same way we were, so I figured we were going different.
Yeah, it's gonna be different.
Any questions?
Shane's not here, so it probably isn't a fair question for you, but on the long-term planning committee for the buildings and that, remind me where we were at with transportation on there. Do you remember? I said it's probably not a fair question for you.
As far as which year it was slated,
Yeah.
I believe it was for this year.
Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
Any questions? You have this listed as a first read. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a first read. If you guys could take action, I think Shane would appreciate it, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, we understand that as well, John.
He did tell me that the specs were written, that approval was for tonight, and in the future, if you don't want to have, if you would like it to be a first read, he can start writing that in the specs. But further down on some of the other roofing bids, he just did indicate that if you do want a first read and don't approve them till later, that the contractors can come back and change their pricing because of the way the specs were written. And so he can change that in the future, but these were not written that way.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the HVAC for transportation? Is there any hesitation from the board to go ahead and approve this design fee for this evening from anyone?
I'll make the motion to approve the design fee for the replacement of the HVAC system in transportation.
One second. Been moved and seconded that we approve the design fee for the HVAC system at transportation. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to D3. Board of Education is asked to approve design approval for ICE engineers at the Abe Hubert HVAC system replacement.
Yeah, so this one, if you recall, I think when Shane bid this out, this was supposed to get done this summer. It was supposed to get done and the bid came in way higher than what we had expected. And so there's it's gonna be a completely different system, and so, that would be why the cost for the design fee is a little higher for this one, because it's gonna be something new. My understanding is this is going to be, there's some government assistance, I think, from the feds that we're gonna get with this system too.
Yeah, there's a 40% that we'll get reimbursed for. And I learned a lot about this. He drew me pictures and everything. And so it's a 4-pipe system, whereas the current system is not that way. So it's a different kind of cooling and heating system. But yeah, if this one is approved, it's a 40% savings.
Is there a timeline on that 40%? I mean,
This is one, I don't know for a fact, but this is one that he indicated, when he talked to them, he assumed that tonight was gonna be the action. But I don't know if that changes anything or not.
So I talked to Shane quite a bit about this, and I would strongly advise against approving this tonight. I've got a lot of questions I want to, not that this may not be the path we want to go down. I just think there's a lot of more information we want to look into on it. So from my understanding, this Abe Hubert, a replacement HVAC system for Abe Hubert, has already been fully designed, but it was a VRF system, which is similar to what we have in this building. That was the one that bid out. It came back significantly over budget. They didn't move forward on those bids. It's my understanding that what's being presented now is it's in the Inflation Reduction Act. The IRA is a 40% reimbursement. I don't know if that's just construction costs or construction and design, but it's of some amount. But it's to do a completely different style of HVAC system. It's a 4-pipe, which is a boiler chiller system, which I think is the best type of HVAC system you can have in a school of that size. So I think that's a good thing to be looking at. They just tend to be more expensive on the upfront because it is equipment costs are in the piping. There's a lot of piping, a lot more equipment. So usually a more expensive front end cost on a 4-pipe over a packaged rooftop units or VRF or what, different types you can go with. It's also my understanding that this system has what's the ability, it's called to make ice. So this is a special type of 4-pipe system where essentially that chiller runs at a really high capacity at certain times of day and actually creates ice to provide cooling. And it's like charging a battery. So typically where I've seen these systems installed is in areas where they run, like if you can work a lower utility rate during off-peak hours, so where it's cheaper to run your chiller, say at night when there's low demand, then you can run that chiller, you can create that ice, and you can basically build cooling stock in the middle of the night when you're paying a lower energy rate. And then during the day, when it's hot out and you're at peak rates, you're using your ice. So that's like charging that battery and reusing it again during the day. One question I asked Shane, so I asked Shane a few different questions, but these are the questions that I'd like to see answered before we move forward or make a decision, at least before I would be comfortable making a decision. What did we spend on design services to design the VRF system? Because there's a fully engineered designed HVAC system for Abe Hubert already, and that we have not gone forward with. So I'd like to know what we spent having that designed. And I'd like to know what the budget of that project, if we were to just go with that project and put in a VRF system, what is the anticipated cost of that? I'd also like to know what is the budgeted cost of this 4-pipe system with the ice built into it. What's the anticipated construction cost of that? And then the last thing is, like I said, most times that I've seen these installed, there is some sort of cheaper utility rate, electric rate that you pay during certain hours of the day, which makes it, that's the time when you want to run your chillers at full capacity and create the ice. So I asked him has the district or integrated consultant engineers had any negotiations or discussions with the city of Garden City about energy rates and off-peak rates. And I'd really like to see that pro forma worked out, because I know 40%, it sounds really good. I don't know off the top of my head, like what a 4-pipe system with ice is cost per square foot compared to a VRF system, but it's going to be more. They're more elaborate systems. They're great systems. Like I said, I think a 4-pipe system is a great thing to have in a building of that size. But there's a lot more upfront cost with it. So I'd like to see that, and then all, like I said, do we have some sort of agreement with, which the city of Garden City is our electrical service provider, so with the city of Garden City about, is there a lower utility rate in the, at night or whenever you run this system, and how long are we locked in at that rate? And then really run that pro forma out and make sure that we think about not just the upfront cost of putting this system in but 20-year program for running this system. Like I said, we've already paid for a VRF system to be designed for that building. Maybe we don't go that route, maybe we do. I certainly think this is a good idea to be thinking about, but there's a lot more information we need to put together to really decide, because if it doesn't pencil out and having this 4-pipe system and running ice isn't cost effective because of, say, the rates are just not that much different than the daytime rates, then there's no sense in spending that money in my mind to get that system designed if that's a system we ultimately wouldn't want to go with. So, sorry, that was a lot of stuff there, but.
Get all that?
I got
Taking notes.
So I suggest
You got 5 questions.
we get that information before we evaluate this again.
Just to read back, what do we spend on the VR system budget that is projected for this project, plus construction for this bid, energy peak off system. We definitely want to verify that, trust and verify that. What is the time frame for the lease peak, and then the 20-year program running this type of system? So there you go.
Yeah, definitely want to know the cost or the estimated cost of the 4-pipe system, because it could be 60% higher, so.
Right.
40%, not a good deal. I mean, it wouldn't be a good deal, maybe. So.
Okay, well, we'll get those answered.
Yeah, I'll get with Shane in the morning.
I guess we'll bring that one back to us.
Okay,
We'll move on to G4, which are roofing bids. These are first read as well.
yeah, so, these were also all in the, long-range facilities plan. So these are all buildings that are due for, updates on their roofs. So, the bids are there kind of in front of you guys. And I will try to answer any questions that you have.
As Josh stated, these are on the long range.
Yeah, this is all on the long-range plan, and it's all been budgeted and planned for, so.
How did they compare cost-wise to what was budgeted in the?
He actually came in, all 4 buildings together, he was under $1,537.
So right on.
I was like impressed.
Okay. I had a conversation with Shane on this also. Really my question or concern that I wanted his input on was in here, in these bids, 3 of these packages, I believe. The low bidder and who he's recommending is Diamond Roofing. So 3 out of the 4 would go to Diamond Roofing. The 4th would be DV Douglas. I just asked him about capacity and, are we overloading? Does he have any concern about awarding 3 of those packages? He talked through that with me, and that was not a concern of his.
Basically, this is what you're saying, basically, we probably need to make action on.
Yeah, these were the ones he was more worried about, because he was worried the contractors could come back and up there.
So in the future, we'll make sure he lets the contractors know.
No, it will be more like, yeah, pushback, yep.
Are there any other questions regarding these bids? First read, so. motion?
I'll move that we accept the bids for the four roofing packages as recommended.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the roofing contracts as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we'll move on to G5.
That would be me again. The last thing that we have is, the proposal from SWC for updates, at Bernadine Sitz and Florence Wilson. This is part of the, safety and security plan that we presented to you all at the March 4th meeting. This would be really the big bulk of the money that we presented at that meeting that you all approved. So this would update the intercom systems and then, some of the other safety and security measures that were in the proposal for that as well.
Is this the same company we worked with on other ones as well?
So this is new. We're just starting with them. And so, that's why we're starting with 2 schools and then for 2 reasons. One, because of the cost of that and then the other pieces, with them being new. So, but yeah, they would be new.
President, I make a motion that we approve and consider and approve the proposals from SWC to update the security measures at the 2 schools.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposals from SWC to update our intercoms and safety measures at Bernadine Sitz and Florence Wilson. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Move on to G6. AASB membership renewal discussion.
I'm gonna present this one, kind of falls under leadership and also board clerk and assistant board clerk, but Kansas Association of School Boards annual fee. This provides a membership for the 24-25 school year, provides a season pass. So any training that we go to, clearly we're paying a fee, so it's not extra charge. So it's not free, but it's not extra charge if we go to those trainings, but also a season pass and then a KSB plus for the same time frame. The plus is board celebrations, student celebrations, all those things that could and could be represented by the district, also communications and so forth. Of course, we have a communications department and then Jennifer's Ramos, board clerk, is on it often, myself, and then Dr. Rock leadership on there too. And then a component of that is the KASB Legal Assistance Fund. And that would be for the year. We've been with KSB for many years. Discussion and possible approval, alternative, no, or alternative table. And then you can see the actual invoice there as far as the price breakdown.
Do you feel that we get that dollar amount of value from AASB?
I would say Jennifer and I feel that. If the board feels something different, then that's fine. But Jennifer reaches out quite often, looks at procedures and routines quite often. And if you don't have that access or that capability, she's been in the role for at least a year, but sometimes you need help, it's just like doing your taxes. If you only do it once a year on some of those things, it's what procedures and routines. And then even today, looking up the policy of our policy and what is the tradition of public comment and public forum and correspondence and so forth. So sometimes it's good to have a kind of a fail-safe, belts and suspenders with your practices.
Do we have option one? Are we currently enrolled in what's shown as option one and option two? That we've done historically?
Yes, so we have done, you're right, so option one, is just the renewal. Option two is the pass, and KASB plus, it's just been, to my knowledge, that's only a 2-year thing, but it may have been around before, so the plus component, 1750. And then the legal is, we do reach out to we do have counsel here, which we reach out to, but, definitely that legal comes in handy when you need it.
So that was gonna be my question is, since we have counsel, do we need this counsel?
We could, definitely dovetail that and not use it if that's something the board wants to do.
Yeah, so I had asked Dr. Dominguez, about KASB, because I think some of the things that I have witnessed or have seen that we've used it since I've been on the board would be like for policy, which we're in the process of kind of redoing our policies by using a couple other districts and using our attorney. And then obviously, I think that we've used them in the capacity of a superintendent search and maybe some evaluation procedures. But I'm just wondering if it's worth the district to renew this. And that's what I was asking Dr. Dominguez, like what value? And I'd still like to hear from our administration team through an email. We have plenty of time. This isn't due till July 1st, I think, but I would still like to hear from our administration, not from KASB. I think maybe there was a misunderstanding last time. They sent me what their value is, and I don't want to hear what they believe their value is. I want to hear from our staff what we think they bring to us. Because our policies are going to be redone. And really all we have to do there is if there's a law that changes, we have to update that one. We have our own legal team. So I'm thinking that this is something that we don't need to be a member of, but I want to hear from our staff as, what do you use it for? What value does it bring to you in your day-to-day operations? And what you do for the district is kind of what I want to hear from you guys. So, my personal opinion would be that we table this, we have time to table it, and hear from you guys is like, yeah, I use that all the time or whatever, resource,
We did negotiations last year. The mediator brought in, was that through KASB or?
No.
No, that was through the Department of Labor. But the training that Drew and I have attended for negotiations was through KASB.
You feel that was valuable?
Yeah, it was good. The PD that I've participated in, I've participated in a little bit of their PD. Right now, I'm part of, it's called BOLD. It's Operation Leadership Development, and it's been really good. I've learned a lot of really good stuff.
Can you still use KASB as a resource if you're not a member and just get a bill for calling in? Do they bill like that, or do they just not deal with you at all, or?
I know in the professional development, it's just a higher cost. Like any of the in-services or anything you could still attend, it's just a higher cost.
So do we pay for professional development on top of our membership, or if we're a member, do we get?
No,
It depends on what the PD is.
Yeah.
Some of it is free and some of it is not. So I don't remember our negotiations. Was there a cost for that?
There wasn't a cost.
So what I would say to that is if Kansas USA, not KASB, if Kansas USA had to be part of the training, that you might get, it'd be a reduced charge, and then the KASB component would not be a charge.
So it's a different entity that you'd still have to pay.
A little bit for the USA component.
Anyway, that's just my thought. I was just asking Dr. Dominguez if this membership brought us value.
And you might also visit with Jennifer too, because I think she visits with legal quite a bit whenever she's got questions. I think she reaches out to them quite a bit. I think she uses them.
I did speak with her and she told me she would be fine either way. So either way, it's not that.
Okay, well, we can table it for now. Have to
Yeah,
get,
you guys can bring us some of that information in our next
Absolutely.
communication, just each of you, just what you use it for, just so we can see.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board open discussion. We'll move on to board open discussion. Whoever wants to start. I will start just, with one comment based on our correspondence. I think that I've had this comment from several other people, but, since it was in our correspondence this evening, the April 17th and 18th public forum, I think as a district, we need to put more information out about that as far as when it is, where it is. It's on the schedule that we're having a public forum on the 17th and 18th, but it didn't necessarily list the time. So I would be in favor of maybe putting some more information out about that to where the public is very well informed and they can choose to show up or choose not to show up. But I want to make sure they know when and where we're meeting and what time we're meeting. And kind of what, like to her question in there was it going to be the same both nights or is it going to be different? I know we've talked about a couple different things. So whenever we get that clarified and try to get that information out to the public as quick as possible.
I can go next or work our way down. No, just a lot of the good things going on in the school system. I know we've had some that have gotten additional state recognitions and others. I know we had a lot of participate in the robotics program here that we hosted here at the high school. And so I want to congratulate all those students that are doing that and just the hosting job that we're able to do here and all of that. So with the robotics group, I appreciate that. I know we had one that was and I'm gonna mess it up, but one of our high school students took first place at the Shakespeare competition for her second year. And so I wanna highlight some of those that are out there doing great stuff. We hear all the negative stuff in the news today, so I wanna make sure we highlight those things that are going good out there. So really excited about all the things that we're doing there and continue to move forward, so.
I'll piggyback a little bit on what John said about the warrants. Yeah, I think it's gonna be important to make sure that people understand not only when they are, but what they are about. To the extent, I think there's a couple options that have been presented out there from the committee. I'm not sure they understand who all has been involved in that committee as well either, as far as the makeup of that committee and how many folks are on that. So I think some of that's gonna be important to communicate somehow out there that we didn't just do this on our own. It was a group of folks. And how many is it? Somewhere around.
There's
Well, it's
57 total.
Yeah, I'm not sure folks know that in the community. It may be trickling out, but I think it's gonna be important to make sure they understand that this was a pretty good sized group that came up with these options.
Thank you, Mark.
I also agree that make sure the meetings on the 17th and 18th are put out. Had quite a few people contact that didn't know anything. So pushing out more information about it I think is important. Not everybody is on social media. And it'd be helpful to put it out other ways also.
Yeah, and I'll get on the same horse as everybody else. I've had a lot of contact from people unaware of what was happening, whether that be staff or people in the community, whatever. I know we'll take the blame for it, but I know it's been pushed out there, but I guess I would is anything we can do to try to get it out there more than we're doing now, I think is a benefit. So just pushing it out as much as we can.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ms. Seltzer for her correspondence. I appreciate her engagement in this and reaching out to the board. I know that our district has put this out through Facebook. I just want to remind people that there's also a tab on our USD-457 website dedicated to this, to the boundary study. I think district administration's done a really good job of keeping that updated. You can go back and find the presentations from every one of the committee meetings on there, the updated calendars on there. So I'd really just encourage people to go to our website directly and find that. But I think finding more creative, more ways to get that out, maybe using Remind or some other source as a way to just, after every meeting, let people know that a meeting just happened, it took place, and encourage them to go back to our website again, because I think it's a good central resource there. I know that I'm glad that we're having these conversations that we are. These are super difficult conversations to have. These affect, nearly significant amount of people in our community, both family members, students, faculty. I think just probably assume like most of you, there's been a lot of really good engaging conversations being had since this has started. But I think it's important work. From the work that has come up, from what kind of started this boundary study to what evolved into grade reconfiguration and looking at building capacities. The message that I'm hearing, and I'm on that committee, is that our community really wants us to look at grade reconfiguration and really wants us and they understand, I think, the fiscal responsibility piece of what we're trying to look at here too. So this is a big thing to tackle. And I would just encourage, continue to email, continue to reach out to us. That's the best way that we're gonna hear from. We have great engagement at the committee meetings. I think we've averaged between like 35 and 40 people at these committee meetings, which is a great number, but obviously our community is a lot bigger than that. So I just encourage folks to continue to reach out and share with us what they think is good about these options that are being evaluated, and also their concerns. So I just want to thank everybody on the committee and for all the time they've dedicated to that. I just appreciated our staff and the efforts, the going through and looking at the HVAC system and this new option for AP Uber tonight is, obviously got a lot of questions to look at and really vet that. I just appreciate that effort to really look outside the box and think about creative ways to come up with the best long-term systems for our facilities. And I just thank you guys for digging deep and looking into those, really all options there. So that's all we got.
Right, if it's okay, President Weesey, I'll go ahead and go.
Yes, sir.
The boundary study, just some quick. Boundary study in 12 and 13 was with RSP, so this group has been around at least 20 years, been under same ownership for that length of time. 3 meetings with the committee. And the very first one, the boundary study, was the focus, as Mr. Farmeyer just alluded to, he's on that committee also, went pretty quickly to maybe a reconfiguration in 2019. That was a phased approach. The district said, I believe they had 8 meetings in 2019. It was over a semester. And what was the best grade configuration even in 19? They thought at that time in that committee, K5, 6-8 was maybe the best model. And then we have that data to show that. And then there was going to be a phased approach of the reconfiguration just for academics on the curriculum, on the certifications, the pattern, the feeder pattern. So those things, a lot of these members that are here currently in 24 were there in 19. Some are new, but transportation limitations were considered, safety and security for all of our buildings was considered. And within that first meeting, the K5, 6-8 model was like, sure, this makes more sense. And in that first meeting, and the information was just through the committee of, what do you think track mean? 1 grade, 1 first grade, 1 second grade, 1 third grade, 1 track, 2 track, 3 track, 4 track model, and then the committee voted. So that's just information that the committee put together. The board definitely wanted fiscal responsibility, fiduciary duty, capital and operational outlay for these individual buildings. What do they look like? The age, the capacity of the building, utilization of our buildings was somewhat low in that, very first one, 9 campuses that were at 60 or just below 60% utility usage. So that can be low. The board kind of gave charge of 75 to 85% capacity, but also RSP would recommend that too. And so what is the projected enrollment moving forward? Programming, what does that look like? If you have more sections, is your programming somewhat easier as far as hiring teachers, staff, coaches, robotics? We mentioned robotics, we mentioned choir, orchestra, all those activities, you get sometimes more programming when you have a bigger school, not always. So that's where we're at as far as the first, second, and third meeting. The next meeting will be April 4th, which will be Thursday, as far as with the RSP committee. And that's actually the site-based committee, not the RSP committee, but the site-based committee. So we are excited about it. Thank you for acknowledging that we really are on the facilities trying to adhere to moving our district forward, maintaining our district, and continue to roofs, HVACs, and all those heavy hitting things are going to be expensive. We need to address them when we can, not when we have to. So that's a component of, we just have to continue to keep moving forward and do what's best for USD-457. So actually really excited of where we're at.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dominguez, and I may piggyback on that just a little bit. I just want to say thank you to RSP and thank you to the committee and thank you to all the administrators that have put time into this. And I know the public sees what goes through the committee and they react to it. And we've gotten a lot of phone calls and we've gotten a lot of emails and a lot of, people concerned like, hey, you're going to shut my school. And I just want to encourage people that we are still in the process. We are in the committee phase. We're in the figuring out what works. We haven't even applied economics to some of these models. Like if we shut 4 schools, can we do, option 1, or can we even do option 2? We haven't even applied economics to that. So the committee is doing their job. And then once they get through their process, they'll bring it to the board, and the board has several different lenses that we want to look through before we make a decision. And we're going to have to peel the onion back. I mean, from a boundary study is pretty simple. When you go to a reconfiguration study and possibly closing buildings and affecting multiple people within our district, I think it becomes a little bit more complex. So we'll take the work that's being done. We appreciate all the work that's being done, and we'll look at that through multiple lenses to make the best decision for our community. And we're going to try to look out 10 to 15 years of what's best for our community, not 2 to 3 years. So we don't want to be back in this same situation. As Dr. Dominguez alluded to, I think this is something that the community has wanted for a lot of years. I think they've started down this path 2 or 3 times, and for whatever reasons, they've decided not to do something. I can't speak for everybody on this board, but I've talked to several people on this board. I think this board wants to get something accomplished in this area. We want to make a decision. We want to do what's best for our students, and we're committed to that. So I just want to put that out in the community as well, that we want to have movement in this area. We don't want to spend the money, go through the process again, and decide to do nothing. So I appreciate your comments, Dr. Dominguez. I appreciate all the board members' comments on this. And like I said, I do appreciate everyone that's working on it. And in the end, I hope that we come to a good conclusion that will set our district up to be successful in the future and our students. So. That, I guess we'll move on to executive session. Sorry. Next board meeting, the next Board of Education will take place on Monday, April 15th at 6 p.m. in the Board Meeting Room at Educational Support Center at 1205 Fleming Street, Garden City, Kansas. This time we'll move to executive session.
120. 20. Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss negotiations for the 2024-25 school year pursuant to the exception for the employer-employee negotiations under COMA, beginning at 6:50 p.m. and the open meeting will resume in the board meeting room at 7:10 PM, I would like to invite Dr. Dominguez, Josh Guyman, Drew Tone, and Jessica Nothern to join us in executive session.
I second that.
Seconded that we move to negotiation, executive session for negotiations. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.